This is the Literary License Podcast with your hosts, Vickie Rae, John Wilson, and Keith Chawgo. Discussing book to screen and everything in between. Coming at you from the UK and USA.
They keep it real.
Hello, welcome to Literary License Podcast. In this October episode, we're discussing the films of Shudder. Every month, we'll be dealing with films from Shudder, and you can actually contact Shudder at www.shudder.com. And for $4.99, you can have a host of fantastic films in the US and the UK. It also includes a bunch of films that are horror and also genre-oriented and a lot of thrillers. So there's something there for everyone. So if you're a horror buff or you're a thriller buff, or you like your films kind of dark and twisted, go to www.shudder.com, and you too can get your own membership. You also get 2 weeks free to give it a try, so give it a try. So, Vickie, what have you been up to in the last week since we last spoke?
I've been just watching Shudder, trying to catch up on our work with that. Doing the race thing with my grandson. I've been reading some Alfred Hitchcock, and I've kind of had the flu. So I have had a non-eventful week other than laying on my back watching scary slasher flicks. At least I have that. I love Shudder. Totally recommend to anybody. It really does have some seriously good movies on it that aren't your typical Hollywood. And there's something in it for everyone.
And what I've been up to personally is I've been actually reading a book called We Sold Our Souls by, which is an excellent book, by the same guy who wrote Paper Axe from Hell. So that was very good. And I've also been watching the old Halloween films. I watched those one after the other and realized that how badly continuity is with all of them.
I was watching that yesterday and I thought the same thing. It's just like when she does the Halloween one where she's like the headmistress of a school.
Yeah.
It really has nothing to do with the timeline at all. I didn't see the new one that's not out till the 19th here in the States. So I was like going, where are they going with this? I guess it's just a franchise and they can add license, whatever.
Well, I mean, you got 1 and 2 and Laurie Strode lives and then she dies. And so 4, 5, and 6 is her daughter, Jamie.
Yes.
And then
exactly.
H2O, Jamie doesn't exist and Laurie Strode's alive and has a son. Then they kill her off in Resurrection. Spoiler alert, people, if you've never seen these films. And now they rebooted it again where Laurie Strode's alive, which doesn't have a daughter or a son. So go figure that one out. Anyway.
Well, I think this one will be like a better, like a third installment, because the first two I loved.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the other ones, but after you've beaten a dead horse after a while,
Well, when Friday the 13th has better continuity than Halloween, you're in trouble. So
yes, exactly.
Though, interestingly enough, I was listening to this podcast, which is The Last Theater on the Left, which is quite interesting because they're covering the Friday the 13th films. And what's quite interesting is they said that if you take that Jason is alive in the first one, so when you're looking at watching the film and you see all these points of view where people are watching the counselors, that some of them could be Mrs. Voorhees or they can also be Jason looking at them. Though Jason's not doing the killing, Mrs. Voorhees is, but
Betsy
Jason could be
Palmer.
watching what his mom is watching. So, which makes sense, but when the sequel comes out a year later and Jason's full grown, it makes sense. So it gives an interesting view of it. So I watched Friday the 13th again with that in mind. And that's what they say, it makes it a very interesting film.
He has this nice little shrine with her head there.
Yeah, in the second one. So if you watch the first one, I think that Jason's alive in the first one. So some of the points of view that you're seeing is not just Mrs. Voorhees watching the counselors, but it's also Jason. But though Jason doesn't have an active part until part 2. But besides that, what else have I been doing? Not a lot. Watched the new Netflix series, Haunting of Hill House, which is, I'm on episode 4, which it's interesting for people who love Shirley Jackson. I'm not quite sure if it's going to fill that need that The Haunting has left, because The Haunting was such a fantastic film and the book is fantastic. Yeah. But it's interesting on its own. I'm slightly disappointed because I was hoping that they would go into the whole Crane family history that the book and the film talk about. But
I was going to start watching that today because it's so flooded here. There's not really much else you can do. I started watching Manhunt about the Unabomber. I couldn't stop watching it. I think I'm like onto the last installment. But
I've also been watching The Purge. I'm still watching The Purge, which I'm really enjoying. And I'm really enjoying American Horror Story Apocalypse, actually.
Yes. Yeah, I've got to catch up on my TiVo too, because I was happy when they introduced all the witches again, because I was sitting there trying to figure out how it was going to tie in Murder House and Coven, and then it finally all kind of came together. So now you got witches and warlocks fighting each other off, and we'll see who comes the victor of that. So,
yeah, and especially since they brought back the little boy from Murder House.
I know, he's brilliant.
So he's fantastic. So it's turning into. I think they've had a couple of little bumper years there where they kind of trudged along, with some episodes being stronger than others. But this one seems like every episode is quite strong. So
Roanoke wasn't obscenely good, I didn't think. I liked it. Some of it was okay, but I didn't get into it like I got into the others.
Well, Roanoke seemed to me like it was three series in one. Because you had like the old history, and then you had the people moving in the house, and then it turns into this weirdo found footage kind of thing. So it was an odd. So Lady Gaga she did a very good job in it.
I love her in anything. I think she's really, not only is she a great vocalist, but she's really turned out to be a very good actor. A lot of people I talked to said they went and saw the new Star is Born, and they said that she was fantastic in it. They didn't say too much about Bradley Cooper, but they said Lady Gaga was just fantastic.
Well, they're thinking that Bradley Cooper might get a double whammy with the Oscars because he actually wrote it, directed it, and stars in it, and wrote some of the music in it. So it'll be interesting to see how Academy Award time comes and how the film actually does. But, I mean, Lady Gaga, I know that Madonna doesn't like her too much from a documentary that she has on Netflix. But she's actually done something Madonna can do, and that was actually be a decent actress. So let's go see.
I remember watching them do that fake fist fight on Saturday Night Live about 5 years ago. I don't know if you saw that, but you got to YouTube. It's funny.
I'll go look that up. So with much ado, what we're going to do is we're going to cut to a commercial break, and then we're going to come back and discuss the films of Shudder. Vicky's chosen 3 of her favorites on this month on Shudder, and I've chosen 3 of my favorites, so we'll be right back to discuss those.
Amazon is here to make your life easier. By just the tap of a button, you can turn the camera on your phone to your own personal shopping list. Introducing Flow. Just tap the camera icon onto the search bar, and you can find whatever it is you're looking for, right on Amazon. Faster than scanning a barcode and typing the name of your item into the search engine. Besides, searching with words is so 2012. Save time and money. Amazon, where shopping meets effortless.
Hello?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I have a bunch of favorite movies. I watch them all on Shudder.com for only $4.99 a month.
That's a scary low price.
But if I had to pick a favorite, it'd probably be Scream.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the only streaming service that lets me watch hundreds of horror movies on demand.
I'll be right back.
Hello? Hello? Hello, are you gonna subscribe? Hello?
Go to Shudder.com to subscribe, if you dare.
Welcome back. So, Vickie, what's the first film that you have on your list of films to see on Shudder this month?
The first one I watched was a werewolf movie. It was called Late Phases. It's a 2014 horror drama. It was directed by Spanish director Adrian Garcia. I don't know if I can say this last name, Bogliano. And his first feature film with an English language. The film had its world premiere on March 9th of 2014. And it stars Nick D'Amici as a blind war veteran that becomes the victim of a werewolf attack.
Oh, I've read about that. It sounds pretty good, actually. I've seen.
Well, it was. It's kind of. I don't know if it's kind of satirical, but he's a Vietnam War vet, and he has a seeing eye dog. It's a German Shepherd, and they move him into a retirement community. He's like at the edge of a forest, and one day he just hears, all this melee at his neighbor's house, and apparently, this werewolf breaks in. And it's one of those creepy American Werewolf in London kind of deals. And it just tears her apart, and then it comes over to attack him, and dog tries to defend him, and the dog, kind of fell mortally wounded. But it was kind of funny because I don't understand. There's this one part, you have to watch it, where he buys this huge Celtic cross monument where you find tombstones. And it takes him like 3 weeks to bury his dog. And the neighbors are all pissed off because the dog is stinking up the neighborhood because they're all like flat, stuck next to each other. And as far as werewolf movies, it was actually had pretty good spins on it because of he's blind and he used to be a crack shot and a highly decorated war veteran. And he really takes these werewolves out because he memorizes steps and where everything is, and he's just waiting and wait for them to attack him. So I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, if you like werewolves, it was really cool.
Hey, speed limit 25. Easy, boy.
It reminds me of that place that we used to live in when I was a kid.
Looks like we beat the movers here. I can't see you, but you smell beautiful.
Did you just move next door?
Hi, Mom. Didn't think you'd still be awake. Mom.
What the hell is that? Easy, boy. Dolores! Dolores! Dolores!
None of the neighbors saw any sign of this assailant. It's just an animal attack.
This has happened before.
Attacks like these happen all the time. Please, stay in your house, keep the doors closed until we sort this out, okay?
Seems like such a nice place to live.
People don't come to places like this to live. They come here to die. Can you make silver bullets?
Yeah.
Can you do silver shotgun shells?
And my film that my first one is the 2007 Spanish science fiction thriller film called Time Crimes, or the Spanish title is, I'm going to actually butcher my Spanish here, is Chrono Crucemenes.
Chrono Crucemenes.
And it's actually written and directed by Nacho Vigalondo, same guy who did Starry Eyes, which is quite interesting. But it's a fantastic film. It's one of those ones that it starts out quite bumbly, and then something happens, and then the guy has to relive the moment over again, but see it from a different point of view. And it is quite interesting. I highly recommend it. At some points, it seems like it's a comedy. It starts out as like this bumbling guy, and it's quite it's quite comedic in a way. And then he sees this crime that he thinks happens and runs away from the murderer, and then has to relive it. But this time, he's in a different role. And in the third time that he comes back, he's in another role again. And it's very interesting how it all connects together. And some of it's horrific, some of it's science fiction, and it's sort of thriller, but there's also comedy thrown in. And I have to sit there and say that if you really like your thrillers, horror, science fiction, a bit odd, but set in the present day, give it a shot, because I was really in touch with it, and I actually really enjoyed it. When I first watched it, I wasn't quite sure to make out of it, but as the movie kept on, I was totally in tune with it, and I couldn't get enough of it.
Sounds kind of like the butterfly effect in a way.
It is like that, actually. And so it is fantastic. So Time Crimes from 2007 Spanish. It is in subtitles form, so a lot of great horror films you can find coming out of Europe at the moment, and Shudder does have those.
I thought that I would be really annoyed with subtitles because when I was younger and more foolish and had less, patience, I would just cruise by anything that had subtitles. Like, no, I ain't got time for this. But I mean, some of those are some really good movies. And if for ones with subtitles, don't just run past them because they got subtitles, because you really can't. The movies technically are very, very good. And a lot of them are sleeper movies because they got subtitles, but they're really excellent. So all you American people who start watching Shudder, don't bypass the European movies because they're excellent.
Yeah, you see some fantastic stuff. I mean, some of the best stuff's been in subtitles of recent years. If you look at the French film, Martyrs, Switchblade Romance, Wreck, one of the best horror films dealing with zombies ever. Wreck. If you like zombies,
I haven't seen that, really.
Oh, it's fantastic. REC, Wreck, and there's actually 4 films.
Is it on Shudder now?
I don't. I believe they're going to bring it to Shudder. So it was on there at one point, but they probably will bring it back again. So
because I noticed that YouTube. I remember I used to be able to cheat and go in and watch something on YouTube, and YouTube's gotten hip to that. So they're charging for stuff now, and it's like, oh, come on. You can find the trailer, but that's about it.
Well, you should always pay for your movies because it keeps new movies coming.
Oh, yeah. Don't give me that look. Nobody else can see that except me.
¿Qué es todo esto? Puedes esconderte ahí. Has viajado en el tiempo.
So, Vickie, what's your second film with Shudder?
Okay, Starry Eyes. It's a 2014 American horror film directed and written by Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer, and I believe the man's name you just said, then I'm not going to butcher his name. So it had its first premiere on March 8th, and another one at South by Southwest. That seems to be where a lot of these movies come out of, and it features Alexandra Esso. She's a hopeful young starlet. And she's one of those girls that wants to become a star, and she doesn't realize that by the people that she's going to go deal with, that she's going to pay a fantastic price for it. As far as human gore and just serious murder, this is it. I couldn't believe how gory this movie was. I had to turn my face every once in a while, and I love gory movies. But this one, it was like, wow. Her friends are generally like unsupportive in the movie. They're selfish, and one of her best friends is always trying to steal her roles and everything. But she does go to this place, and I believe that the name of the name of the movie company is called Astraeus. And oddly enough, that is like a demonic devil that this group of people who have this production company worships. They all have pentagram necklaces on. It's like they're giving pagans a bad name again. But what ultimately happens is she runs away when she realizes that the main person that is running this of Astraeus Pictures, he's like a dirty old man, and he wants her to give him a blowjob. Well, she runs out and decides that she's just not going to be having any of that. So what happens was she's rethinking it because she wants to be a star so badly, and she goes back and she does this, and her body just starts rotting through the whole film. Her teeth are falling out, her hair is falling out. She's just looking like hammered shit. And they told her that she would, arise from all this after there was sacrifice. So what happens is that she goes back and kills and murders in indescribable ways all of her friends. And in the end, which I'm probably not going to give away, there's a kind of a surprise ending, with this girl. But it's just absolute. If you like slasher flicks and you like, bloody gore, this Starry Eyes is definitely for you. Because I couldn't believe how gross it is. And even I don't get grossed out that easy. But it was actually very well done. I enjoyed it a lot. I highly recommend it. Like I said, if blood and gore is for you, this is definitely your Huckleberry.
Welcome to Big Taters. My name is Sarah. Can I start you guys off with an order of our Freedom Tots?
We got all these people, all our friends. They're just sitting around trying to figure out what to do, trying to figure out how to make something.
I thought you were avoiding me.
Why would you think that? Because I stole your role.
What's going on with you lately?
I work so hard. Every week it's a new class, a new audition. Hopefully you'll see something in me. I know I'd be great for this.
We'll be in touch.
Hello, Sarah. We'd like to see you again. And Sarah, this will be different.
Sarah, relax yourself.
Sarah, if you can't fully let yourself go, how can you ever transform into something?
I'm dying!
No. You're being reborn.
Your face would be on the poster on a wall in a lobby of a movie theater, a theater with a marquee.
Kill your old life, Sarah. Bury it in the earth. And join us in the skies.
That's me. I'm your girl. I will do whatever it takes for this role.
And my second film is the 2017 release of Ruin Me, which is directed by Preston DeFrancis. It's basically, the premise is Alexander reluctantly tags along for a slasher sleepout, an extreme event that is part camping trip, part haunted house, and part escape room. But when the fun turns deadly, Alex has to play the game that she wants to make it out alive. And it's one of these films that you're watching, and they really do the thing where that people will pay, and they go into the slasher film sequence. And basically, it's it's like going to a haunted house, but for slasher films. And they're in the woods and they're being stalked and preyed upon. And it has some twist endings. Some of the twists you can kind of see coming, but then it has a big shocker at the end. And I highly anticipate it. If you like slasher films and you want to see something that's like a haunted house slasher film, escape room sort of sequence or sort of scenario, I would highly suggest Ruin Me. It's a 2017 film. The best thing about Shudder that most of their films are the not rated version or the unrated versions. So there's some good little shockers in there and a good little twist in there. But it's one of those films that you kind of sit there and watch, and it's fun all the way through, and it's really enjoyable. So I highly recommend Ruin Me from 2017.
It reminds me of a movie. It eludes me. These people that are trapped in this house and they have to torture each other to get out of it.
Oh, Truth or Dare.
Yes. Oh my God. I watched that the other day ago. Oh my God. That gave me such an anxiety attack. There was just no winning in that movie.
No.
I mean, things that talk about your haunted house with like every worst possible scenario that could happen to you. I watched it the other day ago. That was really good.
I enjoyed that.
I don't know why it made me think of that, but.
Welcome to Slasher Sleepout. For the next 36 hours, you'll be ruined.
Will be what?
Ruined.
Oh, I don't really watch horror films.
And yet you are here at the ultimate horror movie experience. She's a really good girlfriend.
Am I gonna survive this?
Alex, this will be nothing after what you've gone through.
Slasher Sleepout!
This must be the starting point.
I think we're actually in the middle of nowhere.
Didn't you read the directive?
It's part haunted house, part scavenger hunt, but we don't have to worry about it. We're just here to have fun.
Good luck with that.
That guy could be a haunted house actor.
Go!
Is this supposed to be part of it?
Or he could be a deranged killer who just happened to wander into our campsite.
Do you think it was an accident?
We all signed waivers.
Oh no, the ride's broken. We're all gonna die.
What happens when the ride really breaks?
Just admit what you did.
It's a slasher trope. They're picking us off one by one.
This is real blood.
Do you want to die now or die later?
You think this is really happening, don't you?
I don't know anymore.
Go!
I'm not leaving you. Slasher Sleepout, man. You're supposed to be having fun.
You scared already, Cupcake?
And what's your third and final film that you suggest?
Okay, well, it was one of those I didn't really even know that it was made, and I don't believe it has anything to do with the original film, but it was called American Psycho 2, also known as American Psycho 2 with the Roman numerals for some reason. It's called All American Girl, and Mila Kunis is playing in it, and she plays Rachel Newman. And it originally starts out that she's the babysitter is on a date with a serial killer, Patrick Bateman, and after he kills and starts to dissect her babysitter, he's just dismembering her, as she's sitting there duct taped to a chair, and she's a little girl at this time. So, and then they fast forward to present day, where her name is Rachel Newman, and she's now a college student, and she's studying criminology under a Professor Starkman. And it's really kind of funny because it's William Shatner, and it's just like, I don't care, William Shatner, no matter what. You just can't go wrong with William Shatner. Doesn't matter what role he plays. But I mean, this guy's a mess. He's like on Valium and everything else. I won't give away too much of it, but it's kind of a convoluted film. If you're gonna go to the bathroom or get a drink or do whatever, make sure you pause the film, because if you miss even 2 minutes of it, you're going to, like, what the hell happened? So I found myself having to back it up a couple times so that I could watch it. But most of it evolves during a spring break where she stays on campus, and she does locate it at the intoxicated and Valiumed out, Starkman, who's played by William Shatner. And the story starts taking off there. And if I tell you too much of it, then it'll give it away. But she ends up being just as, sick and grotesque and evil as the first one. The one thing that I did read about it is the person who, was panned by critics. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a score of 11, but I didn't agree that it earned that. And the film critic Rob Gonzalez wrote it wasn't supposed to be a sequel to American Psycho, so that's not what it is. And he actually approached Lionsgate and begged them not to make the movie and make it look like that. But that made me want to watch it more. But it was also denounced by the American Psycho author Bret Easton Ellis. But she said she expressed some embarrassment over the film. But as we know, it's sort of like Michelle Pfeiffer in Grease too. You got to start somewhere,
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's actually very good. I thought it was well done. I thought it had a good plot. Like I said, it does get kind of convoluted. So don't, make sure you pause it if you walk away from the TV.
Well, I can imagine it's probably a bit like the Hellraiser series. The Hellraiser series started out as, Clive Barker, and then it was owned by Dimension Films. And what they would do is, in order to hold the rights, they would buy screenplays for other movies and turn them to Hellraiser films, just to keep the name going. So you get that's why a lot of times.
Like 8 of them.
Yeah, there's like 8 of them, and that's just so they can hold on to the name. Because every so often in the years, they have to make another Hellraiser film. So instead of putting money in actually making a decent Hellraiser movie, they'll buy a script like a cowboy western and shoehorn Hellraiser into it. So that's the reason why all the films are very yeah, a bit like that actually.
New card. What do you think?
Whoa, very nice.
He was the most notorious serial killer of his time.
So what do you do?
I'm into, murders and executions mostly.
With an almost perfect track record.
Do you have any witnesses or fingerprints? Actually, yes.
Now, the one that got away is picking up where he left off. American Psycho continues. Angrier. Deadlier. And sexier than ever before.
But my final film is Terrified, the 2017 Argentinian film, which is about when strange occurrences occur in a neighborhood in Buenos Aires. A doctor specializing in the paranormal, her colleague, and an ex-police officer decide to investigate further. It's one of those films that is directed by Damien Rugnu, and it's fantastic. If you get a chance to see it, I highly recommend it. It is gory, and you don't know what the hell is going on, but it all does come together. But I mean, it's just one shock after another, and it starts out as like this place in suburbia sort of thing, and then it just spins like a top out of control. The whole film just gets worse and worse, and there's some great jump scares in it without being cheap jump scares, and it's quite horrific, and it does stay with you afterwards. And the gore images are still ingrained in my mind. So, but
what was the title again to that?
Terrified.
Terrified.
It came out on Shudder about a week and a half ago. It's one of their new releases.
I think I watched it. I've watched so many of them now that I can't remember all the names.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a good thing, the important thing to know about our UK and USA listeners is that Shudder will have different films that are available on the US and different films that are available in the UK. Some films are the same, but the reason why that has to do with rights. And don't worry, if it's on in America, it eventually comes over to UK Shudder. And if it's on the UK Shudder, it eventually goes over to America as soon as they clear the rights.
They just had a big turnover over here on there's a whole bunch of new ones.
Yeah, and they're doing that here. They're slowly catching up. It's a bit like Netflix when Netflix first started in the UK. It was a bit behind, but now there's like so much content that sometimes it's really hard to find your way around it. Another good thing about Shudder is for people who are new to the service is that they do divide everything up into different categories, which are quite fun.
¿Qué es lo que está pasando, chiquito? ¿Por qué viniste a visitarnos? ¿Qué es lo que te trajo hasta acá? ¿Pero qué es lo que implica todo esto? Esto implica que nosotros tres vamos a dividirnos en cada una de las casas donde creemos que ocurren los fenómenos paranormales.
Señora, acá las cosas se están poniendo muy difíciles.
Usted puede elegir o no estar aquí.
¿Qué carajo es eso?
No tiene que tener sangre en las manos, no en este lugar. A estos seres les gusta la sangre.
But I also suggest that anyone who's got Shudder and who are really into horror films, check out the TV series on there called The Core, made especially for Shudder. It's about this boy, and basically what he does, he interviews people who do horror films. Everything from the Shaska sisters making fake penises so you can cut them off, to the different masks of Halloween, to how they do special effects, to psychoanalysis of horror films, to mind control. He looks at it all, and it's fantastic. It's like a love letter to horror films. This guy really loves it, and he does a fantastic show based on it. It's a nonfiction show, so basically it's just interviews with really famous people. And speaking of American Psycho, the director of the original, Mary Herron, he does a whole 15-minute interview with her, which she's quite good about it. So she really explains the whole American Psycho senses behind it and why it became what it became, sort of thing. So it's quite good.
Yeah, AMC's got their horror fest going on.
Well, the interesting thing about AMC is AMC owns Shudder. So,
I did not know that.
Yes, so chances are, I imagine that they'll probably do a lot more. And another good thing about Shudder is that there's some really great podcasts on there that are story podcasts.
I saw that too.
So
yeah, those are great.
I listened to one, and which was quite freaky, actually. I listened to 3 episodes. I had to shut it off because it was getting too late and it was freaking me out. So there's some really good, scary stuff on there. So
that'd be bad if you were freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of that one so I can watch that one in particular? Because if it messed you up, it's going to be really good then.
It's called, I want to call it One Special Night or something like that. But what I'll do is I'll put it into our newsletter, and I'll let you know later, Vickie, because the name totally escaped me. But I did make note of it. But it's excellent, and the podcasts on there are really, really good. They're really good story lines as well with it. So it's like
actually, before I forget though, that one movie that was on Shudder, Cold Hell.
Oh yes,
that's another one. I know we're not supposed to go over like 3 or 4 movies piece, but that one deserves a mention because that woman was badass. If you want to watch badass, and you want to watch a woman that can kick the shit out of just about anybody, definitely the heroine for you.
That's one I have to go for as well. Cold Hell. That's a little extra special mention for us. It's about a Turkish woman living in France, is it, or Germany?
Germany.
She's living in Germany. And you get to experience some of the racism that's going on there. But she sees a murder, and the murder comes after her. And I had to sit there and say that this is a feminist movie all the way. So
definitely.
This should please people. And it's a strong female character. And not at once is she weak. And
she's a she's a Turkish boxer.
Yes.
I mean, she just beats the shit out of some dudes. That's all I got to say. I feel sorry for the guy that's trying to kill her almost. She fucks him right up.
No.
It's so worth watching, especially if you're wanting to your femme fatales. This is definitely for you ladies.
And the action sequences are far above anything you're going to see coming out of Hollywood, I tell you.
There's so much, and I'm not trying to really knock Hollywood too much. No. But, this is like the answer to having to go to the theater and see movies that you just see the same old, either they're reboots or they're the same old, same old. I mean, there is always something on Shudder you can find that is just totally different. You know, I play like Shudder roulette. I'll just sit there and just, you know, pick on my phone. And then, you know, what's really cool is they got this thing on the phone app that you can put it on your smart TV. So you don't have to watch it, you know, on anything small. You can just put it on your smart TV. And it's just a really, really cool concept. It is. And there's always something on there that I'm interested in. And considering that I'm still feeling under the weather and don't have my shit together people, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to Shudder out just a little bit more because I actually fell asleep during The Walking Dead last night. So, you know, I don't feel good when I'm missing out on the final episodes of Rick Grimes to see how they're really butchering my favorite show. So...
And another good thing about Shudder is that Shudder is also available through Apple TV, Xbox, PS4, PS5 probably when that eventually comes out, Fire TV, so you can pick it up almost anywhere. So you just don't have to watch it on your television. You can watch it through not just on your computer, but you can watch it through many different mediums. Okay. I have it on my Kindle, I also have it on my phone, and I have it on my Xbox, so I can carry it and watch it wherever I go.
I know. I was watching a slasher flick when I was at the doctor's the other day. I guess you could hear it through my earpiece. This little old Hispanic lady's like looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? What are you watching? And just like, you know, you have to sit there for an hour sometimes, you know. But I mean, he really is quite the mobile thing to watch. I mean, you take it anywhere. Like I've got it on my TV. I've got it on my phone. I've got it on my Kindle. I also got it on my laptop. So because there's so much to watch. I mean, you get it. I know Keith hasn't come up for air for at least 3 weeks now.
I'm totally enthralled with it. I can't stop watching. So, well, that brings us to the end of our podcast episode. Just to let you know that every month, Vickie and I will be talking about the 3 of the greatest films that we see on Shudder to help pass the word along. And hopefully you'll be able to join us. So in the meantime, if you'd like to share any of your experiences with Shudder or share your experiences with horror or would like to talk to it, please look at us on our Reddit account, on which is Reddit LL Podcast, which we now have a discussion talking about movie franchises, which people are really, really getting involved in. You can also follow us on our social media, which we're on Facebook and Twitter, which is www.facebook.com/LL Podcast, or you can actually send us a message on our website, which is www.llpodcast.com. So to further ado, I'm going to sit there and say goodnight. So good night, Vickie.
Good night, Keith.
And good night to all our listeners. And thank you for staying tuned. And we'll be with you next week when we'll be discussing Suspiria and the Witch. John will be returning, but unfortunately, Vickie won't be with us. Don't worry, folks. By November, all 3 of us will be together again. So until that time, good night.
It's my grandson's birthday party. I got to go.
Yeah. So good night.
Night, everybody. Love y'all.